My name is Adam Campbell, and with me I have Ken Clark.
Hello.
And to my left we have Sean Corrigan.
Currican. Yes.
Corrican.
Any of those names.
Corricano.
Yeah.
Meccano.
It's a conspiracy.
Kib Flibby Dibby.
My name's a conspiracy.
Your name is a conspiracy.
Yeah.
I've heard that
Your mum's a conspiracy.
Your ma's a conspiracy.
Continuing the theme of
Your ma is a proper conspiracy. Fucking ma's a conspiracy. Today on the Cabana, welcome. Come in, sit down, get a drink. What are we all drinking, guys? What are we having? You're going quite, you're fairly innocent drink over there, Ken.
Yeah, it's a super smoothie berry protein.
Yep.
I'll put a spin on it. It's a cocktail. It's got strawberries, raspberries, coconut milk, and soya protein in it.
Sounds a bit gay.
It is. It is very much. Yeah.
He's gay.
It's a strawberry daiquiri.
Gay.
It's a woo woo. Strawberry woo woo.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
What are you drinking?
I'm rocking the dark fruit.
The old Bowstrong dark fruits.
Dark fruit. This is
I feel like it's fruits who are slightly racist.
This is the drink.
Dark fruits.
This is the drink that I drink when I'm in Newcastle. This is my Newcastle drink.
Why?
That's your tune drink.
I don't know why. It seems the thing that I drink when I'm here.
Tune strongbow dark fruit.
Ken's house makes me drink dark fruit.
Like some sort of poltergeist.
Like another conspiracy again.
He insists upon it.
Ken reaches for the
As
dark fruit.
As soon as I come in Ken's house, it's like, dark fruit.
Yeah.
It's time for dark fruit.
I must drink the dark fruit.
How are we feeling anyway? We've had a bit of a good day today, I think.
Yeah, it's been good. I'm feeling warm.
Warm?
I'm feeling relaxed.
It's a good job your heating's on then, isn't it?
No, I'm wearing my big coat as well. So.
I'm feeling
my big coat.
I'm feeling like the truth is out there.
The truth.
Should we play the
the truth is out there, apparently. I want to start off this Cabana episode with something that's fairly prominent to me.
Have you said what it's about?
Well, we're getting there.
Sorry.
Settle down, fucking dark fruits over there.
Dark fruit Corrigan.
Yeah, fucking fruitigan.
Taking a step back.
Chill your fucking beans, man.
Gonna sit this.
Take it down an octave, will you, man?
Gonna sit this.
You bloody mentalist.
Sit this play out.
Yeah, sit it out. So yeah, eventually we're gonna get to the point of what we're gonna talk about this evening. Something my dad said to me many a year ago, and it almost taints my opinion on a lot of conspiracy theories. Is that, and I'll always remember him saying it, is that people like the idea that the truth isn't the truth.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
People like the idea,
there's
one they want to believe that the boogie monsters fucking under the bed, or George Bush has fingered Jimmy Savile.
Was it? I'm sure I saw someone say about it was similar to that theme, was that people don't. Is it that they don't want to accept that something or someone can be like that evil or that?
Yeah.
For example, so they try to put a conspiracy behind it to make sense. When something doesn't make sense,
yeah,
they fear it, so they want to put some logic behind it by thinking that somebody's masterminding, that we're not free falling on this fucking crazy planet, and that nobody knows what the fuck's going on, which is the truth. But they want to put some sort of sense behind it, like a logic that, oh well, actually somebody is in control, and they're just pulling the strings of it.
Yeah,
makes you feel more comfortable about it.
So, but also the other side of it is, some people,
some people don't believe there is another side.
They just want to, people just want to think that
some people are just fucking idiots.
Truth is given to them. They think they want to know something different from it.
Where are you going with this cork kicking? So before we get into the nitty gritty, before we get into the crevasses of specific conspiracy theories, I want to understand where you two both stand on the idea of a conspiracy theory. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So just what is the overall concept of?
So the overall concept of the truth not being the truth, and that there is almost sometimes a malevolent or devious story behind what we are told as masses. Because I have a fairly girthy opinion on this.
Okay.
But I want to know where you two stand.
I tend to take a lot of stuff with a pinch of salt.
Yeah.
But on the whole, I do think that there's some things that I've read and seen over the past 10 years or whatever.
On your whole?
On my whole. That I definitely do think that it's possible that it could be. I think in general, I think I would tend to explore it a bit more, but
you like to explore your whole.
I do.
Okay.
But no, I think on the whole, again.
On your whole.
On my whole. I'm going to try to not say anything about holes. We'll get into the whole Charlie Sheen AIDS fiasco again. I do think it's possible that there would be governments or larger organisations who would formulate this kind of stuff. I do believe it would be possible. Yeah. And I do believe that it has happened. I did not sleep with that young lady. But yeah, I'm partial to one.
Sean Corrigan.
Yeah, it's hard for me to get my head around any of this. It's hard for me to verbalise this because do
you know where I struggle with this, with you in particular?
What?
Is that I know your dad very well.
Yeah.
Therefore, I feel like I know who you are going to be in 30 years because there is some uncanny. What's the word? Similarities, yeah. Why didn't I think of that word? Similarities between you and your dad, and I cannot imagine having this conversation with you in 30 years' time.
Yeah, but I'm not as religious as my dad.
I'm not. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I suppose religious is yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well. So my opinion is, I don't know. It's really hard for me to say this because I don't know. So
okay,
it's really hard.
It's perfectly fine. There's no right or wrong answer.
But I think from my experience, I'm very very skeptical of what I'm told or what I read from media and things like that.
So do you apply that to both what you were told as what the masses are told, or do you apply that school of thought to when you are told about a conspiracy theory? Or do you apply it to both?
That's hard. Say that question again.
So you're saying that you're very skeptical about what you're told?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I was to come up to you and say the government says X, Y, and Z, conspiracy theory says A, B, C. So which one are you going to apply these?
I maybe always drawn to the conspiracy theory because it's usually more interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say that the conspiracy theory is usually more interesting and it piques your imagination.
Well, that's it.
A bit more.
People like the idea that the truth isn't the truth.
And I am wary of that when I think about myself, thinking, am I just being a bit naive and trying to think sort of fantasy when I buy into a conspiracy theory because it's captured my imagination, or is there something that I genuinely disbelieve from what I've been told? So it's always a fine line, but from like when I was, studying sociology when I was in college and stuff, I always thought it was like interesting when they said the news and stuff like that has an agenda. Like they put on certain news at certain times.
Oh, of course they do. Yeah.
Certain times of the year, there's a news agenda. In the winter they'll put on depressing stories, and in the summer they'll put on more uplifting stories. It's not a coincidence.
National media has a massive influence.
Yeah, huge.
Massive influence.
You can't deny that the media is huge about shaping opinions.
Of course it is. Yeah,
of mass of people.
Of course it is.
So
the media.
So it's naive to think that they don't have an input in your life.
The national media will read you, for example, hundreds of stories about mass immigration, crime amongst migrants, migrants sucking on national resources, and then the next week they will tell you stories about far-right crime, like Brexit-y type anti-Brexit stories and all the rest of it, and how Brexit's going to be bad for us. And it is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, sometimes
it's borderline criminal.
The media will pounce on one thing, like Muslims is obviously something that they've pounced on in recent times, and
the media have almost turned it into the fact that if you have a problem with Islamic extremism, that you're a racist. Because if you ever turn around in a public forum and bad-mouthed Islamic extremism, it's got to the point where, because you've got all these bellends in Britain First, and what's the new one? Did you see the fucking new one?
Wait.
Football lads, yeah.
The walk past our building, yeah.
But wait,
it's an offcut from the EDL.
The other side of that is, it makes you question every Muslim you see in the street.
I think that's what Woody was. I think the point you were making, am I right in thinking that they're almost saying, as soon as you badmouth Islam, that they're ultimately associating Islam with Muslims.
It's come to a point where if you said, for example, immigration needs to be controlled, it needs to be controlled better, you are then, I feel, branched with, oh well, I'll tell you what, you're a racist.
Yeah.
You're a Britain First. And there's this fucking new one that I saw. It was on Vice. It was on Vice where I saw the what was it, football lads?
I can't
remember what it was called, and it was fucking ridiculous. And they were all fair enough. They were all being peaceful, and they were marching through London. And then before you know it, they're shouting, out, and all the rest of it. It's fucking moronic. If you think this country can function without migrants, it's ridiculous. But if you get to the point where I personally believe that national media has created an environment where if you even remotely said anything anti-immigration, or not anti-immigration, if you said anything anti-Islam in terms of extreme Islam, as in the stuff that we've all seen in the news and the media, that then you are automatically, I feel, branched with. And to be honest, I think some of it is my prejudice as well. That sometimes, have you ever been in a room with someone, particularly over the past few years, and you'll be sat getting to know someone or talking to someone, and they'll say something along the lines of, well, these bloody migrants keep coming over here, and I almost, when someone says something to me like that, I think, you're trying to open the gate for me to start a rant here, aren't you? And you want me to. It's like almost, they're like
latch onto your rant, so it's acceptable for them to join in because it wasn't their initial opinion.
No, I think it is their initial opinion, but they're dipping their toes in the, what can I talk to this person about? Yeah. And they'll say something along the lines of, these bloody Muslims and all the rest of it. And I mean, have you seen the video of the EDL lot when it goes on about they're interviewing the guy, and they're like, what are you here for? What are you marching for? And he's like, I'm here to march against Muslimic extremists.
Wow.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
It's fucking ridiculous.
So that documentary I was telling you about, the Hate Thy Neighbour.
Yeah.
The one about EDL is fantastic to watch.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it's really good. There's a lot of that stuff that we've just covered there. He discovers all that, talks to these people, gets in the mindset of it.
And in terms of national media influence, there is the school of thought that George W. Bush never actually won the election, the first election. I don't know what year it was, but his dad or his brother or something owned Fox News.
Right. Okay.
And that he didn't actually win the election. Fox just put out that he did win the election, and then the rest of them all jumped on the bandwagon.
Wow.
And the fact that he was never actually voted in. You know, there was specifically states in the South of America that they were like closed polling stations early, and all the rest of it, and because they were predicted that they weren't gonna vote as a state for Bush's party or whatever fucking group it was. Was Bush a Republican?
Yes. I don't know. Actually, I'm saying yes. I don't know.
And that when the entire Hurricane Katrina thing happened,
yeah,
there was like no resources sent to or very, very little resources sent to that area of America because none of them voted him in. And
really?
All the rest of it. Oh yeah. Okay. It's fucking crazy. But I think if you go back with the Bush family to borderline 50, 60 years ago, it is fucking mental, the shit that comes out about those two. And it's all Harvard alumni. Not necessarily Harvard, but you know what I mean? Sort of like good to do circles, secret handshakes and finger rings and stuff like that. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And there's I think there's a group of like 7 people from America during the Second World War that basically, without the commerce and the products provided by this 7 group of Americans, that the Second World War wouldn't have even been able to function. So that boils down to the Blitz. Was it the Blitzkrieg? The force of tanks that the Germans had that basically swept through Europe. That those tanks were unable to function without American-produced oil, a specific kind of oil that was sold to them via companies under the name of Henry Ford. Were unable to function, that were killing sort of coalition and what was it, the Allies? At the time it was a coalition. That were killing Allied soldiers at the time was all sold by fucking these Americans. And the same thing is that the mustard gas that was used in the concentration camps was produced in America.
Right. Okay.
Sold to the Germans, and it's absolutely ridiculous.
I think there's something that's what really gets me, and what I enjoy reading about are these secret organisations.
They're not even secret.
Well, no, but you know, there's kind of the Illuminati, and there's. But no, I think what it is it's there's a lot of these stories that come out about them, or the theories behind their ideology and what they hold. You know, the New World Order stuff.
Oh yeah,
that stuff really like gets me gripped. But you know, how much of it is someone's fiction and fabrication, because they are. I mean, not that they're a secret organisation, but like a lot of these people they're secretive. And they don't like to let certain people in. They don't like to let certain information escape. So maybe just because they hold their own water and they don't release what they do or what they're not doing. That it gives people a chance to go, well, I'll tell you what, we'll just make something.
Have you ever seen a website called The Vigilant Citizen?
Yes, I have. Yes, yeah.
What is it?
That's got some pretty distress. Is that the one that also it published a paper, which at the very top of this paper it says, if you were at all part of the secret, like the CIA and FBI trials, don't read this because it's got trigger words in. So it was an entire paper about the torture techniques that these CIA and FBI carried out in the World War, and then sort of carrying over into the 60s and 70s. And it said that basically brainwashed these people, tortured them, broke them down, and then basically left them with the ability to be controlled, mind control techniques. But apparently some of the words that they discuss in this paper, which reveals it all, will trigger these people to go into whatever state they were trained to go into. And I'm like reading that going, God, like imagine that's true. But again, and I keep thinking, would somebody go to the length to make that up? But I thought, well, people write fiction books all the time. Of course they would. So I don't know. But
however,
yes, I have. Sorry.
The vigilant citizen. But like you say about trigger words, you remember after 9/11, the amount of times certain words were repeated was unbelievable. Terror, terrorism, terror attacks, terror, the war on terror. It was repeated over and over again. That's not an accident, is it? It's not a coincidence. It's said over and over again to get people thinking a certain way. I think that's just common sense. I mean, if you hear something over and over again, it's going to program your mind in a way, isn't it? If you hear something repeated, you know.
I think 9/11 is probably a good example when you talk a systematic control from top to bottom. And I've watched a 3-hour documentary.
Yeah, I don't even want to really go into that because that would take 10 podcasts to even think about, really.
It goes, this one I'm talking about, it goes into detail that clearly highlights that 9/11 was completely and utterly controlled and operated by the Americans.
If that is the case, that's terrifying.
Of course it is.
Isn't it?
Of course it is. But
I think imagine if that's orchestrated by someone higher than
the people who are supposed to protect.
Right. So what just ask a simple question: what justification we've had with the Americans have had to go into Iraq and Afghanistan without something like that? None, realistically. They wouldn't have had any. And you look at the financial benefits of all that shit happening. You look at the way the towers came down. Absolutely phenomenal. You won't see a controlled demolition that comes down that fucking well. Absolutely ridiculous. NORAD were on an anti-terrorism exercise on the same day that 9/11 happened. That involved a very similar scenario of terrorists hijacking planes, and it's fucking ridiculous. The evidence proving that
once you look into it, it's terrifying, isn't it? It's scary. There's so many things that just don't add up.
Yeah.
So
there's one constant between every I'd say every conspiracy theory that you can potentially see is money. And the money that was made to an elite group of people on the back of those type of events is phenomenal.
But it's also more than that. I think it's more than money. It's more like we can shape people's opinion. We can you know what I mean? We can direct people how they think.
Well, the other thing on the back of that was this thing that I watched. It was predominantly about 9/11. 9/11 was that for the past 100 years, maybe not 100 years, for the recent chapters of modern history, is that the Americans have always had an enemy to be afraid of.
Exactly, yeah, like a folk devil.
There's always been. So if it was the Russians or the Cubans, or now
this sounds like Jose Mourinho's psychological tactics in football, isn't it?
Yeah,
always a common enemy.
No, but imagine before 9/11, if you said to any American person, "Do you want to go to war? Do you want to go to war with Iraq? Do you want to go to war with Afghanistan?" They'd say, a normal American would say no.
Yeah.
We don't want war. No one wants war.
I'm not sure I agree with that.
Yeah, but no one wants war, do they?
I think the Americans are so so programmed into this whole enemy scenario.
But no, I think the majority would say we don't want a war with anyone. Really, personally,
I
don't know who would want war, but then you have a big event. Then the public's on your side.
Do you know you got me thinking there. You talk about the 3-hour documentaries and stuff, and we all know, you could get lost and you could spend hours and hours and days and weeks and months just watching these kind of conspiracy theory videos, whether they're put together by a media company or they're put together by a bloke in his bedroom. But you can kind of find endless amounts of these. But if you watched all of these videos put together, which present these findings that may suggest that something's not quite right, it doesn't quite add up, that something else is at hand here. But there's not that many videos. I may be wrong in saying this, but I don't think there's as many videos that are kind of like counter conspiracy videos. Like, so you're obviously presented with an event, and then somebody will come up with the facts or whatever, or the findings to suggest it's a conspiracy, that something else is at hand. But how many videos do you see then who then strategically break down each point that they're bringing up? So, for example, like 9/11, if they bring up I think it was the explosive points in the video footage of the building, and someone will say that's a demolition point. But how many people then make a video to say, well, actually, no, here's the science behind it. Here's what the reason it would have happened that way. You don't always get, even though you do get two sides, you're not getting the final side, which would be somebody else maybe looking at the conspiracy itself and then breaking it down a little bit more. You know what I mean?
Sorry to go off topic a bit, but I've just been looking through my notes on my iPad. Like, you remember in the last episode, I couldn't remember who the rest of my perfect night would be with.
Yeah.
I found out the other two.
Was it George W. Bush?
No, it wasn't. It was three other guys actually. Yeah. So I talked about
guys,
burgers and hot dogs with being Alan Rickman and Paolo Di Canio and Ron Atkinson serving canapes and rainbow-coloured gib suits. It turns out this was written on the 24th of January 2018 at 20:38. Dog the bounty hunter was on the door, giving me words of wisdom with every shot that I take. The little Afro guy from Snatch would be serving cocktails, and because I like cheese, Wallace would be there with Gromit as his +1. Yeah.
The website though, that Vigilant Citizen,
I really want to have a look at this.
Is a crazy website. It's all, but you read it, like it says on the website. If you look at the website, it says read this before you look at anything, doesn't it? It does say that.
Yeah.
And I read it. Well, it goes on, doesn't it? It goes on for thousands of words, but you get the gist of it, and it's all about media programming minds, basically.
Yeah.
You and I don't think that's that far-fetched.
No,
I really don't think it is.
The entertainment industry was quite a good example of that.
The media is it's huge, isn't it? It's huge.
It's the same as we talked about national influence.
Everybody has a TV.
Media,
Everybody has a TV. Everyone has 3 TVs in the house, probably.
Well, I'm sure it was a Vigilant Citizen which suggested about the sort of mind control techniques of young girls. And what they were saying was, if you look at any idol, like at the time, because Lady Gaga was huge, and Beyonce, and so you watch any of their music videos, and it kept pointing to the same things, you'd see signs of Baphomet, which is obviously the symbol of the devil, isn't it? There was loads of they'd be wearing white. The one eye. That was the thing. There'd be, and again, it might just be a trend in it, but the same
butterfly.
There was a thing about
monarch programming, this kind of thing.
There was one about.
I really want to go and have a look at this thing.
It's
now.
crazy.
There
was one where they're saying that if you notice at the start of a lot of the videos, they'll be wearing white, suggesting a kind of innocent, virgin and then by the end they'll be wearing red.
Yeah.
Something with dark, sort of deeper red colours. And they were saying that a lot of it's just to try and they're saying that people like Beyonce and Lady Gaga have gone through some sort of weird ritual and initiation in the music industry to become this successful. That kind of links in with the kind of Illuminati who can provide you with whatever you want as long as you're willing to do some weird shit.
I feel like we're going to be shot when we
probably.
go out
They're probably listening to us now. I suppose but there was just was it not Justin Bieber came out not so long ago to suggest that this probably maybe not so. I suppose it is conspiracy, but a lot of the stuff's coming out about people in the film industry and the music industry being essentially paedophiles, or essentially what do you call it? Sexual, like
perversion.
Perverted people performing sexual assault and stuff, and that's usually coming out more.
Justin
and more.
Bieber said that.
No, so what he said was he was suggesting that he was saying that the entire music industry, the people who run the thing, who tell you whether you're going to be successful or not, are essentially
just nonsense.
Paedophiles, perverts.
And
he was saying that there was a party where he was and again, this was quoted from him, and he was speaking to a small group of people, so whether it was either misquoted or taken out of context, but he'd said the reason he took a break from the music industry, or he's on now because he hasn't been seen as much, was because apparently to keep his career going he had to perform some sort of act on a young boy who apparently was then killed. And this was him saying it. It didn't make the headlines that much, but when you read it, it was quoted from him.
Really?
Yeah. So again, but I don't know what I've read, and I don't know who's quoted it, so it might be utter bullshit.
There's also this thing.
There's a lot of stuff pointing.
Like you say, there's this like sort of pattern that seems to happen. Like Britney Spears shaves her head, and comes back.
I think that was just a massive control issue, and she wanted to take control.
But it repeats because then there's like Katy Perry at the moment who's going through sort of a similar thing.
Miley
she shaved
Cyrus,
her head.
she did that.
She's got blonde short hair now. They all go through this weird little phase, like. It seems to be like a passage.
It's almost like the girl. Yeah, that's what it's like. It's like a passage of rights, like from girl to woman.
Yeah, Kanye West as well. You know, he's been.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, he came out and he's
almost
got
like
blonde hair.
Yeah,
just sort of like.
It's right, actually, and that's website points a lot of that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
They kind of go through this thing where it's like to get to the next level, they almost break them down to the point where they've got to go out and publicly shame themselves before they can get to the next level. But
and Taylor Swift. She had a thing where she was interrupted by Kanye West on stage, and she was wearing a white, like you say, white dress, and she was all innocent and what's happened to me? And then the next awards show, she came out, like you said, in a red dress, and she was like a new woman, and it was like
it seems like there is some sort of link, but again, it could be just complete bullshit. But at the same time,
it does seem to repeat.
Yeah, and a lot of it, the saying is about that control of trying to control how the young women will look up to these idols, and they're using it as a mind control. The thing, do you not find with conspiracies is the more you think about it, the more you start thinking everything's.
It's worrying, isn't it?
Everything's like not how it is, and it almost becomes like infectious. Like it takes over.
I got a bit worried because I saw my son, Carl watching TV, but I'm obviously not going to say don't watch TV, but it does get to a point where you're like, shit.
I think it'll become quite a burden on your life if you. Because there's people at work who all they talk about is conspiracy theories. Like, it doesn't matter what you're talking about, they'll find a way of spinning that to be like, oh well, actually, that's not quite right. And they'll try and dictate. And I'm like, there's got to be a point where you either just accept it is how it is and just get on with your life.
Well, yeah.
But it's really interesting when you. But it's just, sometimes I feel if you start looking into it, you can get
go too deep.
You can go fairly deep and then almost start to question everything.
Because then you end up like fucking
tinfoil hat.
Truman Burbank, really. And you question everything that's around you.
Well, that was a conspiracy right there, wasn't it? Yeah. Who knows if it really happened or not? Some say it was a documentary Jim Carrey was making. Just saying. You do see the ridiculous ones though. You know when they're like Paul McCartney died in 1965. I mean, there might be. I don't know. I don't know a lot about it. It might not be as ridiculous, but it seems to be the ones.
Hitler's being spotted in Argentina at the age of 140 odd.
Yeah. But you know the Elvis is still alive. Yeah. Is this Elvis returned to Graceland? BuzzFeed says. Take this quiz to find out if you're a dead Elvis or what kind of Elvis are you. But when you look into it, it's just a guy who looks at it.
Yeah. Tupac's still alive.
Yeah.
And he's been spotted in the Ivory Coast. That was the one I saw during the week.
I love them though. They're funny though.
Yeah. I think people like the idea of a scandal as well.
Oh yeah.
I think some of it's not as malevolent as we think it's going to be, and I think a lot of it does just turn out to be agendas and influencing. And I
think you've got to be aware of that, though, haven't you? In the media, there are agendas. There are.
It gets
there are messages that that people want to push.
It just gets tiresome of constantly. I'm the same. I'm like, when you're saying that you're skeptical of everything I hear, I'm like, I read something, I see something on the news, or read something, and I'm like, that's bollocks. I'm like, there's fucking no chance. And I go back to the Brexit thing, right? Because my wife, once Brexit was announced, was like, oh my god, look at all these poor homeless people. And I was like, Carly, just remember that if we had voted Remain, that story wouldn't be in the news, and the story would be, look at these millions of migrants waiting to come in. So it doesn't matter. They like to create a feeling of panic, I think, because panic almost controls people's behaviour.
They like to divide people.
They like
to divide people.
Yeah, it's fucking annoying. And I'm like, why do people buy into this shit? And it's the same shit when you see these stupid fucking prank videos on Facebook. Yeah. And it fucking annoys me that people buy this shit. And I'm just like,
there's so many things. The trouble is the internet's been a bigger vice than anything recently, because people, and I think you have put something on Facebook in the past where it's almost like if you take any photo, stock photo, and put a bit of text, quote and a date, or a bit of text, people will share that thinking it's like they'll just believe anything. Mm-hmm. The great one, and I've seen people genuinely believe it, is the one where it's like, it was like fucking Kanye West saw this little kid on the street, and he gave him some money and then helped him, gave some words of wisdom, and that man turned out to be Barack Obama. Yeah, like the absolute the ridiculous things, but people will share it because there's a picture attached to it, and people think it's real.
The one with Abraham Lincoln.
Yes.
This is anything's a dildo if you're brave enough.
Yeah.
It's fucking ridiculous.
But it's like you said, you'll see these ones. But I suppose the point I was going to come to is like, you'll see ones, and they use the military particularly. They'll be like, here's a picture of a serviceman. He's veteran, yeah, and he's got no food, no money, and this person's getting all his money and all his food, and he can't live, and share if you agree and stuff. And it's like, it's just a picture. If you fucking reverse Google search that image, you'll find it's a stock photo. But people have stuck with it, because it'll carry some sort of weight behind it, like it's against immigrants who are taking his money and taking his food. But someone creates it somewhere and shares the fuck out of it, but people just fucking buy it.
I think it's more people sharing the shit without thinking about it, and it's like,
thousands and thousands.
This is Dave. Dave's a paedophile. Share this picture before he molests your children. And it's like, hang on. Do you have any idea who Dave is?
Yeah. It's fucking ridiculous.
How do you know he's a nonce? And you're just sharing his picture, telling everyone he's... What if someone goes up to him tomorrow in the street and stabs him?
Yeah.
He might not be a nonce. He might be a nonce. But even if he is, just fucking let the police deal with it.
People are ridiculous.
People are fucking
not
stupid.
You people. Yeah.
People are sheep.
Yeah.
Sheeps. Sheep-eye. What's the plural of
sheep?
Just sheep?
Sheeple.
People are sheep?
Sheeple. Sheep. Sheepish.
That's the Dutch sheep.
Sheeple. Plural of sheeple. Sheep is sheep.
Sheeple.
People need to listen. People need to listen to Cabana where the real shit gets discussed. We don't share no fake shit.
I think.
Good morning, Vietnam.
If I'm completely honest.
Honest.
If I'm completely honest.
If I'm completely
I wouldn't be doing the podcast right now.
I'd be smoking a bank. If I'm completely honest, I would say my opinions are influenced by the people around us. Does that make sense?
You'd like to think that, wouldn't you? Do you know what I mean?
Not particularly.
No. What did you say? You said your opinions are not influenced.
No, my opinions are.
Okay, yeah.
My opinions are influenced by the people that you're around.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, I thought you said your opinions are not influenced by people around.
No, I'd say they probably are, but then. Yeah. And I'm going back.
Well, you want
the essential.
We might
as well. Yeah. I mean, it is so easy to be influenced, I think, and that goes back to. I mean, this was supposed to be.
This is what worries me. It worries me for my kid, children, whatever. I don't want them to be influenced. Obviously, you want them to have their own mind, don't you? Mm-hmm. So this is what worries me about the media, because it does infiltrate your mind.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah,
it annoys me that they don't. The good in the world doesn't get shared enough. I don't think, and because it's more scandalous and more look what's going on here about the bad stuff.
People want to hear bad.
It makes more money, doesn't it? The scandal
yeah.
and the bad shit makes more money somewhere down the line.
So I mean,
this is why I got on board with. I know you're not a fan, Russell Brand.
Mm-hmm.
I got on board with him because he was like, I love Russell Brand from day one, but he like made a stand, and he did. And he wasn't doing it off for his own publicity, for his own fame. He's already been a Hollywood actor.
Mm-hmm.
He's already done everything that he could have done, and he did things just to do things that were, in my opinion, right. And he got
What did he do?
And he got no mainstream publicity whatsoever.
What did he do?
Well, he was trying to help council housed women that were being evicted for not being able to pay their rent. It was unjust reasons, and he was going. You know, there was a lot of reasons that he was doing it, but he was fighting a battle that was worthy, and it was decent, and he wasn't doing it for his own gain, and he had a lot of good opinions that just never got publicised. It was just, you know, everything that they wanted to say about Russell Brand was he's the top shagger of the year and all this stuff. Do you know what I mean?
I never look at Russell Brand in that way.
He's an intelligent man.
He's quite clearly an intelligent man, and he's in a position to influence people, which I think is what he's doing. But I think
he'd gone beyond the point of needing fame. He'd got fame. He was just trying to do things that were like decent, and he wasn't.
I don't know. I think there's still. I think Russell Brand's opinion is no more important than anyone else's.
Yeah, true, and I think that's what he was trying to get across, in a way.
I don't know. There's something I can't buy into with Russell Brand. He plays this Jack the Lad. Oh, I'm a Jack the Lad, but I'm also quite switched on. And I think a lot of people buy into that when, I think realistically, alright, yeah, you can go and challenge the council on why you're evicting people who can't pay their rent. But at the end of the day, they're not paying their rent. If I don't pay my mortgage, my house is going to get repossessed. Whether or not it's the system or not, just because Russell Brand is sort of jumping about, talking about it, doesn't make it any different.
Do you know who I believe? Tom DeLonge.
Tom DeLonge.
Yeah, man. That shit's fucking true. I'm on board. I'm on a ship right now.
Nah, I'm not buying into it.
I watched a documentary about the moon being hollow, which made me like go fucking mental.
There's the world.
Scrambled my brains for a couple of weeks.
There's the flat earthers.
Yeah, the moon.
And to be honest, right, it seems this past year, flat Earth conspiracy seems to have taken a bit more of a front seat.
Yeah.
And for a long time, I'm thinking, why are people even humouring this?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Why? The more they do it.
Eventually, I think I was like sat in the bath one day, or like sat in the toilet or something, and I was like, do you know? I'm just gonna go on to YouTube and I'm just gonna type in flat Earth conspiracies, or flat Earth theories, and I'm just thinking. For me, the flat Earth thing is the proper tin hat.
That is, yeah.
Type person thing, because essentially, what you're saying is that people can provide you with scientific knowledge that proves to you that the Earth isn't flat. But if you believe the Earth is flat, you're not only essentially saying the world is flat, but every single thing I've been told about science is a lie.
Yeah.
That's what you're essentially saying, is because if you don't agree that the world is flat, if you don't believe that the world is a spherical shape, then every single thing that you've been told. The moon is bollocks. The sun is bollocks.
So every satellite image ever provided.
If you
we're all living in Truman Show.
If you agree, if you agree to the school of thought that the Earth is flat, then you don't believe anything.
You're denouncing yourself from human race, essentially. Because what you're saying is everything that we've ever done or contributed or achieved or being provided is bollocks. It's fucking.
I remember.
Stupid.
I went. Obviously, when I was at university, we talked about. I think it was psychology, and they were talking about. I don't know if you call it semantics, but it's like what makes a table a table. Do you know what I mean? It's a label we give to a thing that has wooden pillars that hold up a wooden middle whatever rectangle. But then you think well, who told you that wood was called wood? Do you know what I mean?
Ridiculous, yeah.
So if you go down that rabbit hole, nothing means nothing, does it? Like nothing means anything. If you say, "Oh, a chair,"
it's fucking Matrix, man. We're in the Matrix right now.
Wood doesn't mean of wood.
What does Fanta taste like? Orange. What does orange taste like? Tangy. What's tangy?
Yeah.
You
can go forever.
You'd end up saying nothing.
Yeah. It's fucking weird. Do you ever get the thing where you say a word so many times that you start thinking that's not a word? Yeah. That's a really fucking frustrating one.
I think it's quite refreshing when it happens because like, oh
my god, fucking world's flat.
Yeah. It's fucking.
Oh my god.
Let's wrap ourselves in fucking.
What does sphere mean? What's the shape of the Earth? What is the Earth? I think it's time for bed.
I think it is, it's been a long day.
To be fair, that podcast went nowhere remotely in the direction I thought it was going to go in.
Yeah? Where do you think it was going to go? Did it fall off the end of the year?
I don't know where I thought it was going to go.
I thought it was going to be controversial, and it was a bit, really.
What do you think was controversial?
Quite a lot
well,
of it, really.
We agreed that the world is flat, though, right?
Quite a lot of it was controversial, I thought. It was like
I think the big one, and it's potentially a podcast or Cabana.
Muslims.
No, nothing to do with Muslims. I think because the Muslim talk came on the back of how we're saying the media influence people's opinions.
Yeah.
So the conversation wasn't about Muslims; it was about how Muslims are portrayed almost.
Yeah.
So.
All of it was quite controversial, I think.
I think there's potentially an episode in itself on media influence. I think.
Oh, definitely.
And I think that's potentially.
What did you envisage
then? A bit more alien-y type.
Crazy conspiracies that would hit.
Seed bank in the North Pole. Global warming is now thawing deadly viruses in the North Pole. You hear that one?
No, that's good.
Apparently, there's deadly viruses and diseases that are trapped in the ice in the North Pole, and now that global warming is happening, even though global warming but will get colder. That these viruses that have been frozen for thousands of years are now going to be released.
Sounds like a plot of a film, doesn't it?
Yeah.
A lot of it does. There was one very quick one. It was the Colorado airport one. Have you seen that one?
No.
I mean, it's made by some college students clearly, but it's just like basically the Colorado airport is underneath. It's designed to house the New World Order. They want to reduce the population down from its trillions into like 100,000, like a manageable amount of people.
Oh, really?
That's what they want. I mean, that's ridiculous, but they want to eradicate everyone into this elite pot of people. But essentially, the Colorado airport it's got this kind of underground system where it would basically be an Auschwitz for this to take place.
Really?
There's showers, there's Sprinkler
sounded
systems.
really excited about that. I was like, ooh.
They're saying that even the airports, like,
Colorado Schwitz, you say.
They're saying that all the real estate around the airport's bought up by like some of the most wealthiest and powerful people in the world.
Really?
That's said that the shape of the airport's actually like a swastika. I was like, oh, that's good. Inside the airport is a mural which depicts the New World Order.
Fucking hell.
But again, I mean, the thing itself, text
me about this when I'm sober.
Yeah,
I'll
send you the link and that, but it's a bit like, it's a bit fucking off piece, and it's made by somebody with the voice on. It's made by somebody clearly fucking, I don't know. It's not like a big scale thing, and it might be bullshit. It's good to watch. So
that's fucking crazy, man. We're not even finished yet.
No. Just undoing his pants.
Just stop taking your damn clothes off, Corrigano.
How long's it go?
We'll wrap
51 minutes. Yeah, we'll wrap up. Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was probably about right. So, what are we on next time? What month's it next time? April. What did we say? I can't even remember what the next one's going to be. Thank you for listening. Any conspiracy theories, please let us know. I'm definitely going to go and read up on this. What was it? Vigilant
Citizen.
VigilantVirgins.com.
Vigilant
Citizen. That was
Vigilant
it,
Virgins.
yeah. And the Colorado airport one as well.
Yeah.
Definitely. Anything interesting? Tell us. See you later.